watching the video blog Kicking Aging's Ass with Dr. Dave Marcone. A pleasure to have you back again. You know, it's estimated by 2030 that the population with the greatest number of people will be 65 years and older. That's amazing. In essence, over the last 100 years or so, we've flipped the population pyramid. What used to be the largest percentage of the population were young people, you know, big families. And as we got to the top of the pyramid, there were less and less people who were 70 or 80. Today, it's the opposite. Smaller families, people are living longer, and that's wonderful. Now, here's the thing. And the time period that we've been extending life, what's also been extended is years living with one or more disability. Right now, about 27% of the American population lives with a disability, one or more. Predominantly, they're mobility and or cognitive being your brain, so loss of memory, things of that nature. When we look at the population 70, 75 years of age and older, that number goes up to almost 50%. And as I like to think about these disabilities, these are documentable disabilities. How many people out there, they're kind of, the lives that they've lived or want to live are kind of closing in on them. They have difficulty walking long periods of time. They get pain or fatigue going up and down steps. Things of that nature that maybe limit the things that they would do, kind of narrows their lifespan down. So again, we don't just want a lot of years, which is great, but we want life to those years, and that's the purpose of Kicking Aging's Ass. So today we're going to talk about habits, and the reason being is all these numbers and studies that look at the disabling factors in this country come down to the vast majority of them are related to our habits, bad habits. So we're going to speak at those. How do habits occur, and how long does it take to change them? Well, one of the things is habits are actually good. They save us energy. So there was a study done in 1945, I believe. It was called the Minnesota Starvation Study. It was done because a lot of people don't know this, that more people starved, particularly in Europe in World War II, than were killed in battle or in concentration camps. It was a major problem. So the study was to find out, all right, how about these people that were starving but lived? What will it take to get them back to normal? What effects will that starvation have? So a lot of things that we know today in science came about from this study, but the one that I'm going to touch on today was the fact that there are three organ systems that use about 60% of our daily energy or our metabolism. The liver, which always befuddles people, but major issue, major organ, our muscular system, and our brain, our nervous system. And that's with the brain going through a lot of a regular day. If you've ever had a new job or making other major changes in your life, you've probably experienced that end of the day fatigue. I have people come in all the time and will say, I don't know why I'm hurting so bad and so tired. And as we delve into what's going on in your life, they'll say, oh, I got a new job. And I'm like, how is it? And it's like, oh, it's tough. That's what's making you tired. Your brain has to use a lot more energy. So every day when we get up until the time we go to bed, our nervous system is looking for things, cues, as they say. And when we see something that cues that habit, the brain slows down a little bit. Kind of like, it's like playing a movie. Just, oh, I know that. Play it over again. Uses less energy. So that's great, because then we could save that energy for something more important, let's say. So habits are ingrained in our brain. A lot of them we get when we're really young, and they sometimes stick with us the rest of our lives. And this is the first major thing I want to talk about: habits. You got to understand that you have bad habits. Now that might sound overtly simplistic, but not everybody realizes that the things that they do, they've been doing all their life, are really the base of some of their, ill effects on their health and their disabling factors. Yeah, some of us, on the other hand, are not always rational. I've seen people who are diabetics who will still drink pop, still eating, sugar sweetened foods, no matter what. So it's very, very important that we identify where our bad habits are. To give you for instance, I grew up in a very large Italian family, and bread and pasta was a major staple of those meals that we shared together, particularly on Sunday. Sunday was traditionally pasta with extended family. And when I say I ate pasta, I ate a lot. I can't remember my mom not making 3 or 4 boxes of pasta at one time. So that was my habit. And it wasn't just like I enjoyed it, which I did, but it was also part of my Sunday, part of my enjoyment. It made me feel a little connected to my past until in my 40s. And like many of us, I started gaining weight. I had some digestive issues, and my sinuses were starting to bother me. Always my nose and my throat always bothering me. And after doing some introspection and doing some changes, I realized that I don't tolerate that grain of pasta and bread very well, which was kind of at first like, how could that be? Because I ate it almost every day growing up, and I was, strong and healthy. The reason is that, well, when you're young, and to me, young is under 24, your body is still growing. Your brain grows, your organs grow. I always compare it to like, you have money coming in crazy, so you don't even realize you lose a little here, lose a little there. So your bad habits when you're young are easily compensated by your youth and the fact that you're just still growing. But about 24, but no later than 30, 35, all of a sudden you are starting to feel like an adult. And what I mean is, maybe you can't drink like you used to, can't eat as much as you used to, and not see or feel the effects of it. You're getting heavier, you're not feeling right. That's the reason. And that's those habits. And it's so hard sometimes for individuals to kind of come clean, so to speak. I got to change that, because it's been part of their life. So having an honest, open conversation with yourself and really identifying some of those things that need to change in order for you to have better health. So now we know that these habits are part of the brain. We know that sometimes we've gotten them through our family, our culture, and they're ingrained in us. So how long, once we identify them, how long does it take to change? Well, if everyone who is watching me today was in front of me and I asked that question, I guarantee the vast majority of you would say, well, 3 weeks, right? About 21 days. Isn't that what they say? And they do. They do say that. Now here's the question. Where did it come from? Is it science? So we got to go back a ways to kind of find out where that 21 day to a new you came from. Actually, 1960. And there was a book that came out called Psycho-Cybergenics. It was a self-help book written by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Dr. Maltz was from New York City. He was a plastic surgeon. And this self-help book, which was a bestseller, was his life work in essence. And it said that many people who got into self-help and wrote books themselves were basically stimulated by this book by Dr. Maltz. Having said that, plastic surgery back in the 50s was not just, eyelid tuck, tummy tuck kind of stuff. We're talking about major reconstruction here, an amputation of a limb, maxillofacial changes. And it was something that Dr. Maltz had observed repetitively in his patients, that once they came out of surgery, they didn't accept the changes. When they saw that new face, they didn't see themselves. They didn't wholeheartedly start trying to adapt with one arm or one leg. And it was, again, Dr. Maltz's observation that it took, on average, about 3 or 4 weeks before these individuals, even accepted that new face, tried to adapt to start living again without an arm or a leg. And that was the premise of the 21 days. And he coupled this with the idea that when we make changes in our life, they're going to take time. They have to be something that we envision, and we have to give time to get into that routine. So, like many things, the 21 days kind of got changed and, as I say, hijacked over the years. And we started seeing a lot of it with products, particularly that were lifestyle changers that were presented around the first of the year, when we all used to make those New Year's resolutions. I'm sure you've seen them, lose that belly in 21 days, get in great shape in 3 weeks, or your money back, or something like that. So here's the issue. Many people knew that it wasn't that simple, but there really wasn't any evidence to say, well, how long does it take? Until a big study was done in 2018. It was done by a French researcher, and when I say big, there was 1,000 participants that started this study. And in it, what they were doing is taking something that was already a habit. In this case, it was breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Everybody typically eats those and takes time for those. And they were going to add an action to one of those meals. So for breakfast, it was the choice. You had to eat a protein with breakfast. They could also have chosen drink water with lunch, three glasses of water with lunch. And the last choice that they could make is to walk 20 minutes before they ate dinner. So, over 1,000 participants, and the study spanned 120 days. Over 900 of the participants made it through the study, and what they found is on an average, it took 63 days to just make one action into a habit. That's a far cry from 21 days, actually 3 times as long. Very, very interesting. There's been more studies done too. One that I just happened to glance over was how long it took people to stick with going to the gym after the new year. And again, it was in the 60-day mark. So what I want you to take from not only the study, but also today's video blog, 3 main points. Number 1, it takes time, not 3 weeks. Some of the people in that study, when they extrapolated the numbers, it took 256 days just to do that one simple habit, okay? So always give yourself plenty of time. And, don't always look for those immediate returns either. It's very difficult to set such high standards. Yeah, sometimes we make it, but, life is busy, things get in the way, and it can destruct it. So give yourself time. I always tell people 3 months. 3 months, stick with it. Number 2, something they also found in the study, even if they missed a day or two, it didn't necessarily have a significant impact on the number of days it took to become habitual. So basically, so many of the people, from the ones who did it in 18 days to the people that took way more than that, they all missed. The thing was getting back into the flow. So consistency as well as persistence. You just got to be like kicking aging's ass. You just got to keep going into it. The last thing, I hope you noticed that they weren't talking about going from eating McDonald's every day to a ketogenic diet or a vegan diet. They were changing one simple thing, and yet it still took 63 days. Now, that's why I tell people, look, I'm not telling you you've got to do really tiny little things like that, but don't be overly optimistic that you can make all these changes at once, whether it be, your diet, exercise, getting off the phone. It's extremely difficult to change everything at once. Pick a diet. Sure, that's fine. Maybe try to give up or change what you drink. That was one that I did many years ago. I was a soda freak. And I started my change in diet by getting rid of pop and switching it out with carbonated water. I found that I like the bubbly stuff. Okay? So start small. And it's important that you do that not just for success, but it also gives you confidence. Each time you make a change and it becomes habitual, and again, you're going to see some positive from it, it strengthens your confidence so that you can take on the next change in your life. I hope you learned something here today. And as I said in the last video, remember that the body is meant to survive. That's what it's made for. But it's up to us to make sure that it thrives. Until next time, kick aging's ass. Take care.